Joining us now, Frank, via the Skype is lucky Lauren Murphy, who was indeed lucky, although I don't think luck played as big of a part in it as skill did, this past Saturday night in Houston at UFC 247, defeating Andrea KGB Lee. Lauren, welcome back to the show. It's good to talk to you, and congratulations on a big victory Saturday night. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing really good. Yeah, I feel good. My face is starting to heal up a little bit, but yeah, I always sport a lot of damage after fights now, so it takes a minute for me to get back to kind of normal looking these days.
I don't know. You look pretty normal looking to me.
Well, I put on a bunch of makeup, but ever since I went to 125 and started cutting weight,
yeah.
my face, like my eyes swell up when I get hit in them bad. I get a lot of bruising now. I never used to really be like that the first half of my career. It seemed like I didn't wear that much damage, and like the last 3 or 4 fights I've noticed I really started wearing a lot of damage, and it could be the competition too, you know what I mean?
Probably has a lot to do with it. Are you finding any funny ways to deal with the fact that you probably get those weird looks still at the shoppings? You know, you're at the store and they're like, "Oh, girl, you should leave him." You know, like, don't take that.
We do. People just when we go out to eat sometimes, and after a fight, all you want to do is go eat and go see your friends. So yeah, we've just kind of learned to brush it off, and actually, people recognize me a lot more now, so it's a lot less awkward if at least one person recognizes me. Like wherever we go, then they can be like, "Oh, she's a fighter," and then I don't have to explain it. And so it's getting better for sure.
Imagine walking around with your daughter and she has bruises on her.
Yeah, that's what Frank's dealing with now because his daughter's training to become a fighter. So.
Oh man, so you guys probably get all the dirty looks.
Yeah,
after
I definitely abusive father, and I'm twice her size, so I'm waiting for someone to call the police on us at a restaurant.
We want to get shirts that just say stuff on them, like "You should see the other guy," or like "It wasn't me," or something.
Or he's doing the dishes from now on.
Yeah. That's funny. You bring up your husband, Lauren, because we were watching the fight. My girlfriend Jennifer and I were watching the fight, and she goes, You won, and they show your corner guys, and she goes, "Is that her husband?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And about that time, Lauren jumps up on him, wraps her legs around him, and starts kissing him. And Jennifer goes, "Well, I hope it is."
It's an awkward moment if it wasn't.
That would have been real awkward. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this fight because, for anybody, obviously, who's followed women's MMA for a long time, even going back to the Invicta days, and now that the flyweight division has been established for women in the UFC, they know your name as a perennial top 10 contender, but this was a fight that I think even though you came in, if I'm not mistaken, you were maybe ranked one spot above Andrea Lee, you were an underdog, like 3.5 to 1, 4 to 1, something like that. I mean, this was an upset.
Yeah, it was, and it's really an upset because most of the fight was contested on the feet.
Yeah,
and that's where I think people really did not expect me to shine as much as I did. But yeah, I'm super proud of my performance. I'm really, really happy with it, and I've watched the fight back a couple times, and obviously there's always things that we could do better. Like I'm already thinking about the stuff I want to improve on, but I feel like I showed up and showed out that night, and so I'm really happy.
I'm still noticing that I feel like the women's movement is such embraced and really represented by female mixed martial arts. But I wonder how much the fact that Andrea Lee, she's been in a lot of magazines, doing a lot of a lot of attention in that way. How much that factors into people favoring her in the fight? Because when she was favored so drastically, I didn't see it warranted.
Yeah.
But then I tried to go, well, it feels more so, even though it is amongst the men, sometimes it can become a popularity contest on who they think is going to win. I wonder, do you feel that it's even worse amongst the female fighters?
Oh, for sure. Just in our case, Andrea has 150,000 followers on Instagram. I have 13,000 followers on Instagram.
Right. Well, I'm one of them. So quality over quantity. I'm one of them.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate it. But it really does have a lot to do with my Instagram. It's full of me and my husband, me and my dog. We do house renovations. It's a lot of me training and looking like hell. And hers is a lot of her posing in photo shoots. And I'm not knocking it. I'm saying she has a large fan base, and she deserves to have a large fan base. But it definitely does make a difference in public perception because the ratio is so skewed when it comes to people that support her as opposed to people that support me.
Well, before
I'm really not knocking it. I don't want it to come across like that. But in women's MMA, some of the women in MMA have huge followings based on the pictures that they post and the way that they look. And in Andrea's case, she's a very exciting fighter as well. And so she has a ton of fans.
Well, before we let it go any further, then throw out your Instagram handle so we can try to even these numbers a little bit. Let's get the phone booth fighting listeners behind you there. What's the Instagram?
I'm at Lauren Murphy MMA, and that's on Instagram, which I'm mostly on, and on Twitter.
Okay.
I stay away from Facebook these days, but I'm pretty fan receptive, and I talk to a lot of people on Instagram, so hit me up. Yeah, I'm around for sure.
Okay, and phone booth fighting listeners, don't embarrass us now. Frank and I are putting you on the spot. Let's have Lauren see a spike in those followers. By the way, speaking of home renovations, it looks like I see some people carrying some building supplies or something just outside the window.
I'm doing house renovations right now. I'm literally in the middle of it, and I put down the hammer and the saw to come out here and talk to you guys.
Thank you.
But today's the fun day. It's demo day, so
Oh.
we're just pulling it. We just bought a house. We closed on it last week, and we're pulling out all the flooring today, all the trim, all like the shelving that's installed in the house right now. We're going to take all that out. So
Damn, I mean, it is Tuesday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you take any days off? Or did you get right back on it?
Yesterday off.
We at least you at least had, was not even a 3-day weekend because you were working Saturday, traveled on Sunday. So I guess you took yesterday off. I mean, that's a workhorse there, huh?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, we closed on this house a week before the fight, and I love doing this stuff. I love doing house renovations. I cannot wait because this is really the house that we closed on. It's really cool. It's going to be all over my Instagram, but it's a really cool house, and I'm excited to make it into like our dream home. It's got a really big backyard and a nice
so this isn't a house you're flipping. This is for you guys.
This is for us, and we're going to live here. Our plan is to live here for the foreseeable future, the next 5-6 years. And but we always have in our mind that we want to increase the value of whatever house we're living in. So we bought it for a certain price. We're going to immediately increase the value, making it look the way we want to look. And then before we leave, whenever that will be, we'll make sure that the value of it is higher than what we bought it for.
Man, Lauren, that makes me so happy to hear someone who's a successful fighter who's also smart in other areas, because that's one thing that scares me is there's so many people in the fight business that I'm like, you don't realize it's going to come to an end.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, and some people just haven't made enough of a name where I'm like, hey, you're not going to live off your Instagram, dude. I don't know what to tell you. And they don't have anything else coinciding with their career. And just, it's a train wreck waiting to happen. And just, there's nothing you can tell guys because they don't believe it's going to come to an end, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. All our careers end at some point, and I'm well aware, like not only of how old I am, but I'm just well aware that we have such a short time in fighting anyway. And it's like pretty soon I'm going to be buying my tickets to the UFC and wishing it was me that was still in the cage. So I try to keep that in mind a lot, and it keeps me grateful and it keeps me hardworking, and it also keeps me kind of smart when it comes to our finances.
Mm-hmm. What prompted, because I know you've moved to Houston, and you now share a coach with Derek Lewis, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Good old Bob Perez, the general.
That's right. He's got the 19th century strongman in the circus mustache. That's what I always.
Dude, that thing is not moving for nothing.
Yeah.
That thing is styled by the hand of God. I'm pretty sure.
Now, because I know you were in Arizona and you guys moved out there to Texas, which is my home state. What prompted the move for you?
Training, really. I was training at the lab, and my husband was the GM at the lab as well, out in Arizona.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great guys out there. We were really deeply entrenched in the lab for a long time, but I went 2-4 fighting out of the lab, and I just felt like it was really, I needed some change. I wanted to be surrounded by my coaches out here. One of them took me through Invicta. His name is Alex Cisne, and he was my coach through Invicta. I went 4-0 with him. We fought for Legacy together. He took me through my entire Invicta career. And then when I signed with the UFC is when I went to the lab. And I've known him really well. I've missed him for a really long time. And I came back out to Houston for my last fight camp, and I worked with him and with Bob Perez. And we just had the time of our lives, man. I just felt like I've rediscovered what I loved about the sport. I felt really passionate about what I was doing. I was excited to go to training every day again. I was surrounded by a lot of positivity, which is really a big deal for me. Like, I really want to be in a positive, happy environment, because fighting is so hard and it's so stressful. So to be around people and to be around coaches that really believed in me and really thought that I could, be a top 5 fighter in the UFC, and they meet all those, they check all those boxes. So it was time for us to go. And this is what we do. This is what we love. Our lives are entrenched in fighting more than anything else. My husband's a really good black belt, and he got a job out here teaching at Henzo Gracie. So they're opening a school for him soon in Southern Houston, and he's going to have his own school.
Oh, okay.
And and I'm going to be surrounded by coaches that I absolutely adore. And it just seemed like it would be stupid not to take that opportunity.
No, that's great. If you don't know this, long-time fight fans probably have heard this story before, but this is one of the amazing stories to me, Frank. I don't know if you know this one or not. So, Lauren, you have now been professional, about 10 years, right? I mean, just right about 10 years. And you originally got into MMA because your son signed up for jiu-jitsu, and you took him to jiu-jitsu class, and she wanted to be supportive, so she took the class with him. And then she turns out, this would be like my mom when she took me for my first guitar lesson if she had turned out to be the rock star. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so interesting to me. I mean, that's a great story. Does your son, I don't know how old he was at that time when he signed up for jiu-jitsu, but does that fully compute with him? Like, how interesting and bizarre and cool and I mean, that's basically shaped your entire life for the last 10 years, and not only you, your husband, what he does, but I mean, your son deserves some credit for that too, because I mean, in a strange way, he actually kind of led you to your career path, whether you realized it at the time or not, right?
No, he really did, and one of the things I've always loved about being a fighter is showing Max that, if you commit to something and you really believe in something and you give it 100%, that there's no real downside. Like, we've lost fights before and we've had some hard times in fighting, but we've gotten to live a life that we really, really love. You know what I mean? I don't have a boss. I don't have to answer to anybody. I get to make my own hours. I get to wake up every day and do exactly what I feel like doing. Same thing with my husband, Joe. And I think more than anything, as Max has grown up, he's 18 now. Yeah. And he was 8 when that started. I think to show him that if you just really commit and believe and give your very best, that you can have a life that's beyond your wildest dreams. And I love that he got to see that growing up.
Isn't that amazing, Frank?
It's a phenomenal story.
I mean, what if Bella, your daughter, had thought she wanted to train, but Jennifer took her to jiu-jitsu, and then Jennifer ends up turning pro?
That's a really cool story.
She'd probably be a pretty formidable fighter as well, your wife.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. She might have missed her
She
calling.
would have been banned from the sport.
Yeah.
She's too vicious and evil.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, okay, so with this win over Andrea Lee, I want to talk to you about a couple of the call out you made in the cage and the other idea you had and all that. But I also do want to ask you too. I mean, this was a split decision. I had this for you 29-28, but there was. I thought your fight. I didn't think your fight was as debatable as some of the other ones we saw on the card, but I felt like your fight kind of got lumped in with a larger conversation about judging on the evening, Yeah. And so, but I wanted to ask you about that because one thing that has been pointed out is there was some controversy about whether or not one of the judges was actually watching the fight or on his phone, and I've had a hard time looking at that conclusively, telling whether or not that's what was happening. He said he was looking down at a monitor, seeing the fight. I mean, I don't know if you've watched it back yet or anything. Do you have a personal thought about any of that? Because that obviously was happening during your fight.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on all of that. First of all, from what I understand, the person that Joe Rogan was looking at was not a judge. It was a commissioner, and he thought it was a judge. Yeah. And then there was like a video that came out that Andy Wynn took of somebody looking at their phone, and again, it wasn't a judge. Also, the commission released a statement that said like the judges now have monitors that are they're below the level of the cage, so it might look like they're looking down, but they're watching monitors, which like I think Dana and Joe Rogan and the commentators and everybody have those monitors. So I also share the frustration with judging. I think open scoring is a great idea. I would love to know, like, I thought I won the first round of that fight, but 2 judges gave it to Andrea. And so as a fighter, I would love to know, like, what the score is going into the second and going into the third, so that I can adjust my game plan and do what I need to do to have a dominant victory. You know what I mean? I don't want to win by split decision. I don't like that either. But I love the idea of having open scoring. And I think the judging was maybe it was kind of messed up at UFC 247, but I felt that I won that. I felt that I won my fight. I knocked her mouthpiece out 3 fucking times in that fight.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I backed her up. I had all the positions on the cage. Every time it went to the ground, I was on top. I scored all the takedowns in the fight. She got 0 out of 3, and I think I landed 2 out of 4. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. Like, it was a really close fight. I understand the frustration with the judging process, because I'm honestly not a fan of it either. And I've been on the wrong end of a couple really close decisions myself in the UFC. It is a hard pill to swallow. But I won that fight Saturday night, and I'm extremely proud of my performance. Yeah. And I'm really bummed that the fans booed at the end of it, because I think if they had cheered, I think we would have gotten fight of the night. And them booing put a damper on the whole fight. And it was like, we just had this, both of us had really good performances. We both put on an awesome, bloody, violent show, which is what they're paying to see. And then to boo at the end of it, I think it took us out of that fight of the night running. And that really bummed me out, because those Andrea Lee fans probably screwed her out of $50,000 extra by booing.
Well, that's exactly what it is that she just had more fans in the crowd that were unhappy with how the decision go. But Richard and I are both on the side that we feel exactly how you described it, that you won the fight. It was a close fight and a brutal fight, but look, when things are, I think the problem right now with everybody with judging, and I plan to fix this for myself, and I know you've talked about it. We're actually going to go down and take the course with John McCarthy goes and certifies judges and refs, because here we are having this debate. I hear Joe Rogan have the debate. I hear Dana say things, and they don't know judge. They never really taken a course on judging. So I hear people throw things around, and just my little bit of working with John McCarthy, he laughs when you say that. He goes, well, he was controlling the ring. He's like, that's not you know that no one cares about that, right? Like, the judges don't give a shit who's controlling octagon control. Yeah. That's not a judging criteria, and so there's so many factors that are going in that, like, basically we're observing, let's say, a football game, and none of us know really how much a touchdown is worth. You know what I mean? Well, what's a touchdown versus a field goal? And now we're making it subjective. And then that's the part, too, that I 100% agree with you. It needs to be open scoring, even once we do all figure out how judging works better, so we can speak to it with some kind of, fact-based, opinion. The open scoring is the only way it makes sense. Could you imagine, again, just because the Super Bowl is on top of my mind, football, imagine having a football game and at the end telling everybody what the score is.
Right. Yeah.
And each judge doesn't have the same criteria. So, like, one judge thinks a field goal, in his opinion, is really difficult, and so he gives you 4 points for it. But you don't know about that until the end. And the other judge thinks, hey, running a touchdown is not that hard, but throwing one in is really hard, so that's worth 10 points.
Yeah.
And it changes from fight to fight, judge to judge, because different judges have different opinions. But as a fighter, like what you're saying, Lauren, is if at the end of the first round you're like, oh, they gave her that. I punched her in the face 10 times. She took me down once and she won the round. I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to wrestle more now to win these next 2 rounds. We would have that instead of at the end finding out, well, how did that judge see it? Well, now it's too late. There's nothing I can do about it but your opinion on how to judge a fight.
Yeah. It is tough. It is tough too, Lauren, that the point you bring up, when fans get distracted, whether or not they had their favorite or whatever, I think a lot of times don't see the forest for the trees, in the sense that what you're doing is you're booing a good close fight. You're not booing a robbery. It's not okay, somebody was out of their damn minds. That was close. My fighter didn't win, and I'm booing. But what you don't realize is the way that's coming across is it's like you're booing a fine effort from not just one fighter, but 2 fighters.
And I've always disagreed with doing that. I'm always pissed when I hear fans. and I'll probably get in trouble if I tell you my real opinion. but absolutely, you're right. I wouldn't have thought about that. The fans booing cost even their fighter a fight bonus. Like, wow, like when you said that, I was like, wow, that is a really true statement. I didn't make those connections, but you're absolutely right. They ripped off their own girl because they booed that they weren't happy about the outcome. But it's like, but the fight was awesome.
I felt really bad about that because it's like, man, I know she has a lot of fans in Texas. She wears a cowboy hat. She's wearing a cowboy hat when the decision was read. Of course they're going to boo the girl that's wearing the cowboy hat that doesn't win. Of course. I got booed when I walked out, and I train in Houston. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like I knew she was going to have a lot of fans there. And I just felt so badly that they didn't appreciate what an awesome fight it really was, because it was one of the best female fights I think that has taken place on that canvas.
Oh yeah. Listen, I got to tell you, just on a personal level, you don't know this, Lauren, but I was sitting there watching that. I said to Jennifer while we were watching, I said, damn it, I wish I could fight like Lauren Murphy. I have had 2 short fights, Lauren, and neither one of them went very well, and I was like, man, I was watching you fight and just keep coming forward like that, and I was like, damn it, I wish I could do that.
But that's what more people I wish
that actually means like really a lot to me. Thanks a lot.
Well, I'll send you the clips of my 2 fights, and it'll mean even more, because you'll be like, oh yeah, gee, I see what you're saying.
And what Lauren's saying, what we all think, that's what I wish fans would appreciate more. Like, look, this past Sunday, again, third time's a charm on the football analogy, I was rooting for the 49ers. I wasn't upset at the end of the game. Like, obviously, I was like, because now I got to hear the trash talking from everybody I'm watching the game with. But I was happy I saw a really great game. I wasn't upset. I was like, hey, that was a really great game. And I don't get why more fans aren't that way, going, hey, now, if your person runs away from you and takes you down and plays the point system and they pull out a really shitty decision, boo away. But now you're booing at the performance, not the outcome.
Yeah, right.
But when 2 people go to war, hey, man, that's phenomenal. They're out there fighting their asses off. Like, that's what you want to appreciate. And fans just, I think it's people that just don't have anything. I don't know. I'll shut up before I get in trouble.
No, I think that's a fair assessment.
You, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
To me, honestly, that type of reaction should be reserved for when a fighter wins a very cautiously, conservatively fought fight. And even then, I don't begrudge the fighter for doing it, but I would tell that fighter, hey, the trade-off is going to be that some of the people who bought tickets, are maybe going to give you a little bit of crap for the strategy, and you're just going to have to accept that because you want a safe fight.
Tyrone Woodley versus
Damian Maia.
Perfect example. Like, look, hey, smart fight. You're fighting a dangerous grappler, probably the most dangerous grappler ever in MMA. But guess what? You're going to own the boos at the end. Like, what are you booing for? Like, well, we're booing because the fight sucked. You know what I mean? Like, you got your W, you retained your title, and you say, hey, I'm fighting to retain my title. But then you're going to get boos. Just be like, hey, you got to shrug your shoulders. Like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. I'm going home the champ,
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about these, where you want to go from here, Lauren, because you mentioned Roxanne Modafferi in the cage. I saw, and that would be great. Really she herself coming off a huge upset over Macy Barber. And I know I think in a post-fight interview, you also mentioned Joanne Calderwood, which would be another, a couple of syndicate products from here in Las Vegas.
You're going after all my teammates, dude.
It's for great trades, But
that's all right.
Look, they're the only ones that are coming off wins, and they're the only ones that can make weight, which is why I want to fight them, because the other girls in the top 5, 2 of them have missed weight badly, really badly, and the third one is coming off a loss right now. So
that's one factor.
They're the only 2 left coming off wins.
To think of it, I've never had to deal with that. As a heavyweight, it's funny, things that, you talk about, you deal with in different aspects, but I've never had to worry about my opponent missing weight. Like, heavyweights just, obviously we don't miss weight. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine, and you're sucked up, you're tired, you're fatigued, you've done everything you're supposed to do to make weight, and you're suffering, and you find out that not only did they miss weight, but they missed it so badly that they possibly canceled the fight altogether. And I couldn't imagine, like, I think that, like, most of the time our sport's pretty friendly amongst each other. It's like, look, like, you're a warrior, I'm a warrior. I got to kick your ass to bring home the paycheck, but, it is, I understand. But, like, that's one of those things where I think I could really breed some animosity between somebody. Like, well, now you're costing me money because you don't have the, the discipline to get down. Wow.
Yep, that's very true. Well, what have you heard any? I know it's only been a few days, but have you heard any preliminary response from either one of these fight ideas you're throwing out there?
Oh, yeah. Roxanne and I actually talk a lot. We're friends.
Yeah.
We talk all the time, and she wrote to me and she was like, that was so exciting. You called me out. And she's just totally down. And I think it's going to be a great fight. So hopefully they'll do it like I said 3 months, but there's no way the UFC could turn us around in 3 months. I don't think. They just have too many people on their roster. But if we were talking about like 4 or 5 months out, somewhere like maybe June or July, like what about International Fight Week? That would be great, And then we could do it in Vegas, which is Roxanne's like current hometown, and I'll go out to Vegas and we'll have the PI at our disposal. And I think it would just be really great. We'll do it. Tell you what, Mick, go ahead, just set it up for International Fight Week.
Yeah.
Me and Roxanne will go and throw it down. It'll be a great fight. And it'll be a fight between 2 top 5 contenders right now, which both of our stories are really cool. Like, our careers were supposed to be over a while ago, I think people thought, and we're both resurging in our careers right now. And I think it's going to be an awesome fight. We're both durable, tough, skilled. Like, what else do people want?
Couple of fighters with Invicta history, I think it would bring up a nice narrative in the fight build up to it. I mean, there's not really going to be a lot of trash talking in that. So you replace that with kind of, getting a chance to showcase the lineage and the history of women's MMA and kind of what's gotten us to this UFC flyweight division, and be able to, that'll promote some old archive fights on Fight Pass. They got to love that, right?
Those are my favorite kind of fights. No bullshit beforehand.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch it, then I don't need to fucking fake it for you to watch it, but just a phenomenal fight once the bell rings.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that would be a great choice. Couple other just quick things for you, Lauren, because I know you got to get back to your demoing and all that, because you got your tool belt on or whatever. But I thought about you a couple of weeks ago, and not just you, but some of the other, obviously Roxanne, but some of the other female veterans in the UFC a couple of weeks ago when Roxanne did beat Macy Barber, because that was so bizarre at the end of the fight. And am I confusing you with somebody else, or did you maybe have an online reaction to that whole?
It was me. Yeah,
that was you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your read on? I mean, I got to tell you, what I saw was like someone who. Here's what I thought happened, and I'm going to give benefit of the doubt here, and you tell me if you think I'm just being too kind. I think the nicest thing you can say about the way that played out was that was somebody who thought that there was way more concern about her losing than there really was. Like, if I had lost a fight and my first thought was, oh my God, the world's going to need an explanation for this. I mean, obviously, everybody was sitting on the edge of their seat expecting me to win this fight, and I can't just have the greater public be bewildered and not be able to enjoy the rest of the evening. I must explain and give this kind of weird qualified explanation. I don't know. I mean, I'm not 20 anymore, however young she is, and I know people make a big, but surely when I got to tell you this, if I was in that corner, if I'd have seen that coming, that PR train wreck, I would have been like, get back over here.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. You bring up a good point. Like, to Macy's credit, she's like 21, I think. And I was a fucking idiot when I was 21. I was a moron. Yeah. So if I had been her age, I probably would have done something maybe similar or the same. But yeah, I think it hurts to lose in the UFC, and it hurts bad. And when you're a big favorite going into a fight and you walk away with a loss, it can really, really, really suck. And I think that's what happened to Macy, and she's going to learn how to deal with her losses better, for sure. Like, I don't think she'll ever do that again, but that was fucked up, man. You don't take the mic from the winner to explain yourself before Roxanne even got her moment. Roxanne was like a 10-1 underdog in that fight. And man, you just got to let her have her moment. And I know it hurts. I know it sucks, but that's what you have to do. And you just got to congratulate them and fucking move on with your life. And you'll end up looking a lot better in the long run. Loss and everything. Well, but she's so young. She's so young. It's like she's got time to learn all that. And Lord knows I was a traitor myself when I was that age. So
yeah, I'll tell you what. I think she also caught a little bit of a break too, doing that to Roxanne, because there's a lot of other people who wouldn't have been so nice about. Because Roxanne, even I felt like, was not apologizing for her, but like trying to cushion the blow of, like, she didn't even She didn't even take the low-hanging fruit of going, yeah, that was bizarre. Yeah, anyway. All right.
Roxanne has like no ego about her. Yeah.
No.
Roxanne's a really good lady, and she handled it better than anybody on the roster would have.
Yeah.
Roxanne is one of the most unassuming human beings. Like, when people sit there, oh, that's a nice person, I can't believe they fight.
Yeah.
Her picture's in the book when it comes to that description, because she is
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
nicest human being. Like, I expect her to be on some kind of like, tour in Africa saving children,
Yeah.
like not actually being a professional fighter.
Yeah, for sure. And then one more thing for you, Lauren, and we mentioned this on the podcast, I believe, but I just haven't had a chance to tell you this personally. You back in November, you and Marion Reneau, of all people, had a little back and forth about Michael Vick and my dog Mel on Twitter. And Marion posted, she was upset that I guess the NFL had picked Michael Vick to be involved in the Pro Bowl or something. And Marion Reneau, who I did not know had this passion about her, which was great to find out that she was a big pit bull advocate and rescue advocate, had posted about this. And Lauren responded to her and mentioned me and Mel. And I don't know, I know we follow each other, so maybe you saw this, Lauren, but that meant so much to me because Mel had passed away right about that time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he was, it was just right about when that happened. Mel was 13 and a half. He was, he was in his 14th year, and his brother passed away just a couple of months after that. So, it's as tough as that was, that's the number you hope for. I mean, you hope that your dog is with you that long, especially for that breed and all that. So, we were more fortunate than a lot of the people who had rescued the Vic dogs, because Mel was one of the youngest. A lot of people didn't get to be with their dogs for as long as we got to have Mel. So, but I just wanted to let you know that, because it came at the exact right time. It was just, it was about a month after he had passed away, and the whole thing was going on with Vic and the NFL. Well, nothing surprises me that they do, but I know a lot of people were outraged by it. And it was just nice to see a couple of people that are involved in my sport having just a conversation of conscience about it, I guess is what I'll say. So just thanks for being one of the good people, and same to Marion Reneau, and I appreciate you guys for saying what you said. So thank you.
Of course, anytime, and I'm glad that you got all that time with Mel too. It's nice to think that he had all those years with somebody that loved him so much.
Yeah, thank you you very much. Now, how are you still have your two dogs? Yes.
We have one. Joe's dog passed away last year, almost 2 years ago now, and he was our old man. So he went peacefully, but it was hard. Joe actually just got a tattoo of him finished on his arm. And then I have my baby girl. She's all over my Instagram. She's 5 now. She's my middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
She's goofy as ever. So we're Doberman people, Frank. We own we'll probably always own Dobermans, and I have a goofy ass female Doberman that just runs amok all over my Instagram. Well, she loves the new house. It's got a big yard for her.
That's great. She was on the podcast last time you were on, I believe. In fact,
actually she is. She's hanging out right here.
What? Wait a second. Yeah.
Where did she go? Oh, she just took off. When she comes back, I'll.
Okay. Well, I'm sure she's supervising the construction crew in your absence.
Come here, Penny. Come here. Here you go.
Hey, Penny. Hi, Penny. Oh, look at that.
What are you doing, huh?
Hi.
What are you doing?
Hey there. All right, good.
So that's my girl.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll let you get back to work there, because I know you got a big thanks for making some time for us to talk about this. But
I have to wave off a few people with the fingers, so thanks.
Yeah.
It's all good. Anytime.
Thank
you guys for having me on.
Of course, and keep us posted. Hopefully that fight with Roxanne will get made, and once we get that thing booked and get closer to International Fight Week, of course, that'll be here in Vegas and all that. Let's hope for the best with all that, and then come back on and let's talk about it.
Let's do it. Yeah, you could, honestly, this would be one of those things you could have Roxanne and I both on, probably.
There you go. Let's maybe think about doing that. We get Roxanne in studio? Yeah, we could do something like that, of course. All right. Well, everybody follow Lauren on Instagram at Lauren Murphy, MMA. Nothing else for your penny pics. You're going to see a lot more penny on there. All right. All right. Listen, thanks again for the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, Lauren?
All right. Talk to you
All
guys
right.
later.
Bye.
Have a good one.